Hi there, this is Group 82 of ENGG 687, Ethics, Law and the Engineering Profession. Our group topic is the Rana Plaza collapse. My name is Rimal Ballar and I'm from second year, third semester Chemical Engineering. My specialization is Environmental Engineering.
Hi, I am Dhruval Patel. I am from second year of chemical engineering.
Hi, I'm Shashaha. I'm in first year mechanical engineering.
Myself, Akruddin, second year student of geomatics engineering.
Hi there, my name is Laura Alvarez. I'm in first year of chemical engineering.
The case we have chosen for our case study is Rana Plaza structural collapse, also known as Tower building collapse. The Rana Plaza collapse occurred on April 24, 2013, 8:45 am in the morning, about 11 years ago from now, in Savar near Dhaka, Bangladesh. It was built in 2006 by Sohail Rana with original design of 4 floors. This building housed garment factories, a bank, and stores employing over 5,000 employees. In succeeding years, 5 to 8 floors are added without proper supporting walls and permits. Despite visible cracks in the structure discovered the day before the disaster, thousands of workers were ordered to return to work under threat of losing wages. Few hours later, the building collapsed, killing 1,134 people and injuring over 2,500 others. This collapse happened in less than 90 minutes. It is one of the deadliest disasters in history, exposing severe safety violations, poor working conditions, and lack of regulations in the global garment industry. The tragedy sparked international effort to improve factory safety and work rights. Now I'm going to discuss some facts associated with the disaster. In 2006, Sohail Rana built Rana Plaza by draining a pond and filling it with concrete, but he failed to obtain mandatory building permits. According to officials, buildings should never have been constructed and should have been demolished. Despite the building's questionable legality, at least two garment factories passed international labor audits, though structural safety was not assessed. Rana received unauthorized local approval. This reflects a wider issue of factories being built without proper permits during Bangladesh's garment industry boom. On April 23, 2013, large structural cracks were discovered in Rana Plaza building, leading to the immediate closure of shops and the bank on the lower floors. Despite warning, garment factory owners ignored the danger, compelling workers to return to work the next day to avoid the production delays. On April 24, 2013, thousands of workers entered the cracked building. Shortly after, a power cut led to the activation of generators, causing the building to shudder with heavy vibration and loud noises. As workers attempt to escape, the structure collapsed before they could reach the exit. The Rana Plaza's tragedy revealed the harsh conditions faced by garment workers in Bangladesh. Workers in factories like Rana Plaza faced extremely low wages, unsafe conditions, and precarious jobs. Despite visible structural danger, they were forced back to work, with many on temporary contracts vulnerable to unemployment. Intimidation and harassment, particularly towards female workers, were common. Workers had little control over their safety, fearing job loss if they raised concerns and become a whistleblower. This exploitative environment, highlighted by the Rana Plaza collapse, exposed how the global garment industry relies on the exploitation of vulnerable workers to maintain low cost and high production outputs. After the Rana Plaza collapse, brands like the Children's Place, Joy Fresh, and Mango were linked to the disaster. In response to initiatives, the Accordion Fire and Building Safety with over 200 European brands in May 2013, and the Alliance for Bangladesh Worker Safety with 20 US brands in July 2013 launched factory inspections. The Bangladesh government passed new laws to improve structural and fire safety. Although larger factories saw improvements, challenges like low wages and unsafe conditions persist in smaller factories. Bangladesh now also have one of the world's greenest factories.
The Rana Plaza disaster highlighted numerous ethical failures at every level, starting with the prioritization of profits over worker safety. Global brands like Walmart and Gap outsourced production to Bangladesh to reduce costs, ignoring unsafe conditions in these factories. Factory owners further exploited workers, forcing them into dangerous conditions despite structural warnings, leading to catastrophic consequences from a consequentialist perspective. Corporate social responsibility was clearly neglected. Brands like Walmart and Primark prioritized cost-cutting over safety standards, and many only acted after the disaster, questioning their commitment to proactive ethics. This disaster also raised the issue of shared responsibility, as brands can't fully blame local governments. They must ensure safety in their supply chains. Consumers also play a role, as continued support of unethical brands allows them to avoid accountability. APEGA Rule Number 1, which emphasized public safety, was violated when engineers and factory owners ignored visible cracks in the building, failing in their duty to protect workers' lives. Government corruption played a major role in the collapse. Local authorities accepted bribes, allowing illegal construction, while safety regulations were ignored. The building's owner, Sohel Rana, used political connections to bypass regulations, showing how corruption directly undermined public safety. The collapse reveals a broader ethical dilemma in government accountability, with officials prioritizing personal gain over the welfare of workers.
Talk about professional ethics, engineering responsibility. Engineers and safety inspectors ignored clear structural cracks and failed to halt factory operations, violating their professional duty to ensure public safety. That's APECA rule number one. The engineers involved failed in their ethical obligation to prioritize safety. They choose business over worker safety. External pressure. Factory owners and local authorities exerted pressure on engineers to downplay risk, creating a conflict of interest between ensuring safety and complying with business demands. Whistleblowing. The engineers had an ethical obligation to raise public concerns about the building's safety, but fear of retaliation prevented action. Failure to whistleblow directly contributed to the disaster. Broader ethical implications. The collapse highlights the need to stronger adherence to professional ethics, prioritizing public safety, honesty, and accountability in engineering. That's when APEGA rule number two comes in. In the case of Rana Plaza, the engineer's failure to properly assess the structural risk may indicate a breach of this rule. Global supply chain ethics, outsourcing and ethical blind spots. Global brand outsourced to Bangladesh for cheap labor, benefiting from weak regulations but failing to ensure proper safety, proper safe working conditions. Accountability. Many brands fail to implement adequate chain monitoring. After the collapse, over 200 companies signed the Accord on Fire and Building Safety to improve factory conditions. Prior to this global disaster, there was no signed accord in any companies. Legal versus ethical responsibilities. While brands may not have been legally responsible, they had an ethical obligation to ensure worker safety in their supply chains. Power imbalance. Multinational companies exploited their power over over suppliers, prioritizing cost reduction over worker safety, leading to unsafe conditions.
We have drafted three discussion questions. First one is about the accountability of global brands for creating safe supply chain. Second one questions the role of the local government for ensuring safety for workers in a corporate system. Third one, which we are gonna answer, questions about the compulsion that made engineer to proceed with the construction of the building. It is evident that the lead engineer has violated APEGA Rule 1 by proceeding with construction despite having no civil permit. Public welfare has been clearly neglected because of short-term profit. What were the compulsions for the engineers? Two scenarios can be drawn. Scenario one relates that maybe the engineers' microethics have been heavily influenced by the macroethics. It could have been like that engineers were having good ethical values, but they were somehow compelled to adopt unethical behavior under external pressure like death threats. Scenario two relates that the engineer's action fall under ethical egoism. It is the situation where engineer has prioritized their own benefits like monetary benefits over ethical responsibility, just like the owner. For both the scenario, under the perspective of consequentialism, the engineer decision had flaws. Maybe the engineer faced some confusion regarding their own ethical values due to reason arose from conflicting external pressure. Or maybe they had selfish motives. Even if the epistemic normative uncertainty exists, it cannot excuse the engineer's failure to uphold the basic ethical duties which led to this disaster. Thank you. That would be all.